Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. What happens when a wife accepts her husband's best friend's fake proposal as a prank for social media, only to discover her husband had been consulting divorce attorneys the entire time? I convinced myself it was just harmless content creation, that my husband's silence meant he was being a buzzkill, and that marriage shouldn't be so serious all the time. Then, at the courthouse plaza, where I went to renew my driver's license, surrounded by strangers, a process server handed me divorce papers with asset protection orders, and I realized the man I'd been calling no fun had spent 3 months proving I'd committed fraud and emotional abuse through my pranks. My name is Ondine Hartley. Everyone calls me Dina. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a social media content creator and part-time marketing consultant. I have a husband named Graham, who is 33, a daughter named Sophie, who is 7, and until 3 days ago, I had 847,000 views on my most viral video. The video where I got engaged to my husband's best friend. As a prank. I thought it was hilarious. My followers thought it was hilarious. Even Kieran, Graham's best friend who proposed to me, thought it was hilarious. Graham didn't think it was hilarious. And now I understand why. This is the story of how I destroyed my marriage for content. This is the story of how I convinced myself that views and likes justified cruelty. And this is the story of how the man I called boring turned out to be the smartest person in the room. Because while I was pranking him, he was documenting everything. It started 3 days ago. Actually, it started 18 months ago with my first prank video, but the moment everything truly exploded was 3 days ago at Graham's mother's 69th birthday party. I had been planning it for 2 weeks. Kieran and I had rehearsed the whole thing. The surprise proposal, my shocked reaction, the big reveal that it was all fake, perfect content, guaranteed to go viral. And it did go viral. 847,000 views in 3 days. But now, sitting in our living room at 10 p.m., while Graham stands across from me with his arms crossed, I'm starting to think maybe viral wasn't worth it. Graham asked me to explain why I had Kieran propose to me in front of his entire family. I laughed nervously and said it was just a prank for my social media channel. That everyone knew it was fake. That it was obviously staged and hilarious. Graham asked if I considered how it would make him feel to watch his best friend get down on one knee and propose to his wife in front of 50 people. I told him he was overreacting, that it was clearly a joke, that my followers loved it and the engagement was amazing. Graham pulled out his phone. He showed me 12 messages from concerned family members and friends asking if our marriage was okay, if we were separating, if the proposal was real. I said that people who don't understand content creation are just jealous of engagement metrics they can't achieve. Graham asked if I had planned this with Kieran beforehand. I said of course we planned it. We rehearsed the whole thing. Kieran was supposed to get on one knee at exactly 8:47 p.m. so I could capture the golden hour lighting. We'd timed it perfectly. Graham asked if I thought about asking his permission to stage a fake proposal with his best friend at his mother's birthday party. I felt defensive. I said I don't need permission to create content, that my social media is my career and he's always known that he married a content creator. Graham didn't say anything else. He just went upstairs. I went to bed frustrated, convinced that Graham was being unreasonable and killing my creative energy. The next day at work, I consult part-time for a small marketing agency. I was reviewing the video analytics with my friend Tessa. She's also a content creator, and we often collaborate on ideas. The fake proposal video had 847k views, 23k likes, 1,200 shares. It was my best performing content ever. Tessa said she knew the shock value would work. That controversial content always performs well. I said I was just doing what successful creators do, pushing boundaries and giving followers what they want. Damien, our managing partner, walked past my desk while I was replaying the video. He paused and watched the screen. Kieran on one knee, me screaming, "Yes," the kiss. Graham in the background holding Sophie, his face absolutely blank. Damien didn't say anything. He just continued walking, but his expression troubled me. That evening when I got home, Graham was in his home office organizing files. His laptop was open, displaying an elaborate folder tree with dates and categories. A calendar reminder popped up on his screen. Downtown 09:15. I asked what the folders were for. Graham closed his laptop immediately and said he was archiving important records, keeping things organized. I noticed a labeled binder on his desk. It said Social Media Archive in his neat accountant's handwriting. I asked why he was archiving my social media content. He said it was important to have permanent records of significant events. That digital content can disappear, but printed records don't. A text preview flashed on his phone screen. I only caught a glimpse before he deleted it. Documentation complete for... He looked up at me. His expression was unreadable. Then he did something that made my stomach turn. He locked his desk drawer with a small key and pocketed it. I asked why he was locking things. He said he wanted to keep his work organized and private. That night, I lay awake, feeling a creeping sense of unease that I couldn't quite name. A week later, Graham sat me down in the kitchen one morning. Sophie was at a sleepover at her friend's house. Graham asked me to explain the planning timeline for the fake proposal. I told him Kieran and I came up with the idea about 2 weeks before Patricia's birthday, that we thought it would be funny and get great engagement. Graham asked if I considered that staging a proposal at his mother's birthday party might upset her. I said Patricia needed to lighten up, that she's always been a bit too serious, that it was harmless fun. Graham opened his laptop. What he showed me made my blood run cold. It was a spreadsheet, a detailed, color-coded spreadsheet listing every prank I'd done over the past 18 months. The columns read, date, prank description, platform, views, comments, family impact. I scrolled through entries. Fake pregnancy announcement, March 15, 2023. Instagram TikTok, 156K views. Patricia cried for hours. Posted photo with fake divorce papers, June 3rd, 2023. Instagram, 89K views. Graham's colleagues saw, sent concerned messages. Pranked him with fake affair confession, September 22nd, 2023. TikTok, 234K views. Sophie asked if Daddy was leaving. Told his boss he quit without telling him, November 8th, 2023. Instagram stories, 178K views. Graham nearly lost his job. The list went on and on. 18 months of pranks, all documented with dates, platforms, and view counts. I asked Graham if he was seriously keeping a spreadsheet of my content. He said he wasn't tracking my content. He was documenting a pattern of behavior. There's a difference. He showed me another tab. Printed screenshots of comments on my videos. This is abusive. Your husband looks miserable in the background. These aren't pranks. This is cruelty. I hope he leaves you. As a therapist, I'm genuinely concerned about this relationship dynamic. I told him he was cherry-picking negative comments, that most people love the content. Graham opened a folder on the kitchen table. Inside were hundreds of printed pages, social media posts, screenshots, timelines, and a contact on his phone that had been renamed with a briefcase emoji. The text thread was labeled Consultation Evidence. I asked him who that was. He said it was someone helping him organize information properly. I asked if it was a lawyer. He said I'd find out when it was appropriate. Then he played me a video I hadn't seen before. It was the birthday party, but it wasn't from my camera. It was from someone else's phone, from across the room. I watched myself and Kieran rehearse the proposal before the party started. We were in the corner of the community centre hall, going over the blocking, when he should drop to one knee. What words to say, how I should react. and then the camera panned to show Graham standing in the doorway, watching us rehearse, his face completely expressionless. He had seen us planning it. He had known it was coming, and he had said nothing. I felt sick. Then Graham played the actual proposal video, but again, not from my camera, from someone else's phone. This angle showed Graham's face in the background. The moment Kieran got down on one knee, Graham's expression changed, just for a second. Pain, humiliation, betrayal. And then it went blank again. His mother Patricia was in the frame too. She had turned white. Her hand went to her mouth. She looked at Graham, then at me, then quietly left the party. Graham asked me if I saw what he saw in that video. I said I saw people overreacting to a harmless prank. He said he saw his wife humiliating him in front of his family for internet points. Then his phone buzzed. It was a text from Patricia. Family meeting Sunday. Both families. We need to discuss this. My mother Simone had already confirmed she and my father Leonard would be there. I felt trapped. That night, I heard Graham in his office on the phone. He was using his professional voice, the one he used for complicated accounting work. I pressed my ear to the door. He was saying, "Yes, I have documentation of approximately 18 months of escalating behavior. Each incident is timestamped with platform data and archived. I need to understand how emotional abuse through social media pranks is handled legally. What grounds exist for divorce, and what evidence would be required for custody considerations?" There was a pause while the person on the other end spoke. Then Graham said, "I understand that emotional abuse is harder to prove than physical abuse. That's why I've been documenting everything. Every post, every comment, every impact on our daughter. I have witnesses, family statements, and her own content as evidence." The printer started running. It was past midnight. I stood in the hallway, finally understanding that Graham wasn't just upset. He was building a case, a legal case, against me. Sunday dinner was a nightmare. We met at Romano's, a family restaurant with private dining rooms. Both of our families were there. My parents, Leonard and Simone. My younger sister, Margot. Graham's mother, Patricia. His aunt and uncle. And Sophie, sitting between her two grandmothers, looking confused and anxious. The tension was immediate. Graham arrived separately. He sat at the far end of the table, as far from me as possible. I had brought my tablet. I thought if I could show everyone the analytics, the engagement rates, the positive comments, they'd understand that my content was successful and harmless. I was so wrong. Patricia started. She looked directly at me and asked me to explain why I thought staging a fake engagement to another man at her birthday party was appropriate. I pulled up my tablet and said it was creative content that performed exceptionally well. That social media is my career, and I need to create engaging material to stay relevant. Patricia said, "Humiliating my son is not a career." I tried to explain that it wasn't humiliation. It was entertainment, that Graham understood the difference between real life and content. Leonard, my own father, interrupted. He said he wanted to discuss the spreadsheet Graham had shared with him. My stomach dropped. Leonard started reading from his phone. Fake pregnancy announcement, fake affair confession, fake divorce papers. Told his employer he'd quit without informing him. He looked up at me. "Dina, explain these to me. Explain how these are jokes." I said they were all clearly pranks, that everyone knew they were staged, that I always revealed them as pranks eventually. Patricia's voice was shaking. She said, "I didn't know the pregnancy announcement was staged. I cried for 2 hours. I called everyone in the family to share the news. And then I found out from a hashtag that it was fake. Do you understand how that felt?" Simone, my own mother, spoke quietly. She said, "I believed several of your pranks were real before I saw the hatched prank tags later. The divorce papers, the affair confession. I spent days worried about you and your marriage." Margot, my sister, asked to speak to me privately. We stepped out into the restaurant's hallway. She said, "Dina, I'm a family therapist. I've been watching your content, and I need you to hear this professionally. You're exhibiting classic emotional abuse patterns disguised as humor." I told her she was overanalyzing like she always does. She said, "No, I'm recognizing abuse when I see it. Public humiliation, gaslighting, boundary violations, lack of remorse. These aren't pranks, they're abuse." I told her she was betraying me by siding with Graham. She said, "I'm not siding with anyone. I'm identifying harmful behavior. And if you don't stop, you're going to lose your family." We went back to the table, but the dinner ended shortly after. Everyone was too uncomfortable to continue. As we were leaving, Patricia took Sophie aside. I heard her quietly tell Sophie that she could come stay with her grandmother anytime she wanted, that Patricia's house was always a safe, calm place. The implication was clear. Our house was not safe or calm. 3 days later, I was at the gym. In the locker room, another woman approached me. I recognized her vaguely. She worked out at the same time as me most days. She said, "You're the woman from that engagement prank video, aren't you?" I said yes, expecting her to say she loved it. Instead, she said, "My daughter is in your daughter's class. Sophie's been telling everyone that her mommy is marrying Uncle Kieran. The teacher had to have a conversation with the class about truth versus lies." My face burned. The woman continued, "What you're doing to your family is cruel. Those aren't pranks, they're emotional abuse. And your daughter is suffering for it." Other women in the locker room were watching now. Some were nodding in agreement. I grabbed my bag and left without showering. That evening, Sophie appeared in her bedroom doorway. She was supposed to be asleep, but her eyes were red like she'd been crying. She asked me why I was engaged to Uncle Kieran. I tried to explain it was just pretend, just for Mommy's videos. She asked if that meant Daddy was leaving. I said no, of course not. She asked if the ring was real. I said no, it was a prop. She asked why pretending to marry someone else was funny. Because her teacher had shown the class a video about how lying was wrong, and Sophie wanted to know if pranks were the same as lies. I didn't know how to answer that. Graham appeared at the top of the stairs. He'd heard everything. His face was unreadable. He told Sophie gently that they'd talk about it tomorrow, that it was time for sleep. After Sophie went back to bed, I tried to talk to Graham. He held up his hand and said we'd discuss it later. Then he went to his office and closed the door. I waited outside for a moment, and through the door, I could see the glow of his laptop screen. Browser tabs were visible from the hallway. Emotional abuse via social media, divorce grounds, humiliation, custody, parent conduct, evaluation. I went to bed alone, finally starting to understand the magnitude of what I'd done. Saturday morning, Margot texted asking me to meet her at the Riverside embankment. There's a walking path there, where we used to jog together before she got busy with her therapy practice. It was cold and windy, the kind of day that matches your mood when everything is falling apart. Margot was waiting by the path. She didn't hug me when I arrived. She said she'd been reviewing my social media content with a professional lens, that she'd seen a clear, documented pattern of emotional abuse. I told her she was using her therapy training to attack me. She said, "No, I'm using my training to identify someone who's harming their family for internet validation." She pulled out her phone and showed me comments on my videos. Not the supportive ones, the ones from other mental health professionals. As a licensed therapist, this behavior is concerning. These pranks are textbook emotional manipulation. The husband's face in the background shows genuine distress. This is abuse, not content. Margot said, "The fake engagement has especially traumatized Sophie. Her teacher reports that she's acting out, asking if her parents are getting divorced. Sophie is 7 years old, and you made her think her mother was marrying someone else." I said kids are resilient, that Sophie knows it's Mommy's job to make videos. Margot said, "Making videos is a job. Using your family as emotional punching bags for views is abuse. Then she gave me an ultimatum: delete the harmful content, apologize publicly to Graham, get therapy, stop the pranks, or she would provide a professional statement supporting Graham in whatever legal action he decided to take. I told her she was betraying her own sister. She said, "No, Dina, you betrayed your family. I'm just refusing to enable it anymore." Then she walked away, leaving me alone on the embankment. That same day, Kieran texted me. He said we needed to talk. We met briefly at a coffee shop. Kieran looked uncomfortable. He said Graham had called him, that they'd had a long conversation about the pranks. I asked what Graham said. Kieran said, "He asked me to stop participating in your content. And when he explained how much the pranks have hurt him, Dina, I watched that engagement video again, really watched it. Graham's face in the background, he looked destroyed." I said Graham was being oversensitive. Kieran said, "No, he's not. I've known Graham since we were 15. He's my best friend. And I've been helping you hurt him for content. I can't do that anymore." He said he was ending our content partnership, that he wouldn't be in any more of my videos. I asked if Graham told him to do that. Kieran said, "Graham asked me to think about whether I'd want someone doing these things to me, and the answer was no, so I'm out." I sat alone in the coffee shop after he left, finally understanding that I'd destroyed a 15-year friendship between Graham and Kieran. For content, for views, for a viral moment that would be forgotten in a week. That evening, Sophie asked me again about the engagement, about why Mommy kissed Uncle Kieran, about whether it meant I didn't love Daddy anymore. I tried to explain that it was just pretend, just for the videos. Sophie asked, "But why is pretending you don't love Daddy funny?" I didn't have an answer for that. Monday morning, I got an email from Damien, my boss at the marketing consultancy. He wanted to meet at 9 a.m. The subject line said, "Client concerns and professional conduct." Tessa texted me right after. 3 clients saw the engagement video and asked if we're that kind of agency. They're concerned about our judgment and professionalism. Damien is really upset. I felt my world shrinking. That evening, Graham came home late. He was carrying a leather portfolio I'd never seen before. I confronted him about turning Kieran against me. Graham said calmly, "I didn't turn Kieran against you. I asked him to consider whether he wanted to keep participating in behavior that hurts people. He made his own choice." I asked him what was in the portfolio. He said, "Documentation, everything I need for the legal processes that are about to begin." I asked if he was really going to divorce me. He said, "You'll receive formal legal notification soon." I saw his laptop on the kitchen table. The browser tabs were visible. Social media evidence in divorce proceedings, emotional abuse documentation requirements, custody evaluation criteria, parental conduct. There was a spreadsheet open. Columns labeled prank title, date posted, platform, view count, revenue earned, impact statement, witnesses. I saw entries with dollar amounts next to them. Money I'd earned from ads on the prank videos. Graham had calculated how much money I'd made from humiliating him. It was $47,000 over 18 months. I felt sick. A cloud sync notification popped up on his screen. Files uploaded successfully. Social media evidence, 847 items. A calendar reminder, downtown 1445. And I noticed something else. A new key on his keyring. One I didn't recognize. He caught me staring and put the keys in his pocket. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., I smelled something strange. Printer toner. Graham was printing things in his office in the middle of the night. The next morning, I parked in the garage under my office building. As I was walking to the elevator, I saw Graham's car in his assigned spot. I walked over. Through the windows, I could see the back seat was full. File boxes, printed social media posts with timestamps, screenshots, legal pads covered in notes, USB drives labeled with dates, His phone was on the passenger seat. A contact was renamed with a gavel emoji, the universal symbol for law and justice. A text message preview was visible. Final documentation compiled. Service scheduled Thursday. My hand started shaking. That afternoon, Graham came home while I was making dinner. Sophie was at Patricia's house for the week, something Graham had arranged without really asking me. He said I should prepare for formal legal consequences of 18 months of documented emotional abuse. I asked if he was threatening me. He said, "No, I'm informing you. Abuse has consequences, even when it's filmed for content, even when it goes viral, even when it makes money." Then he said, "You chose views over our marriage. You chose likes over my dignity. You chose internet strangers over your family. Now you get to live with those choices." He went to his office and closed the door. I stood in the kitchen alone, finally understanding that Graham had been planning this for months. All those folders, all that documentation, all those appointments downtown. While I was pranking him, he was preparing. While I was going viral, he was going to court. I looked at the calendar on the refrigerator. A date was circled in red. Thursday, 3 days away, the day everything would fall apart. Tuesday at lunch, I met Kieran one more time. I had texted him begging him to reconsider, to understand that I needed him for my content. He met me at the coffee shop, but he wouldn't sit down. I told him that Graham was overreacting, that he was going to destroy my career and my life over some harmless videos. Kieran said, "Dina, I watched that engagement video again. I mean, really watched it. I looked at Graham's face in the background. He wasn't angry. He was in pain. Genuine, deep pain. And I helped you do that to my best friend. I said we'd been creating content together for 2 years. That we were a good team." Kieran said, "No, Dina. You were using me to hurt your husband. And I was too stupid or too flattered to see it. But Graham made me see it. He called me and we talked for 2 hours. About every prank. About how each one made him feel. About how he's been suffering while we laughed." I asked what Graham said. Kieran said, he said, "Would you want someone doing these things to you? Would you want your future wife pranking you with fake affairs and fake divorces and fake engagements? Would you want your kids to see that?" Kieran continued, and I realized the answer was no. Hell no. So I told him I was done helping you. And I'm sorry, but I am. You're toxic, Dina, and I can't be part of this anymore. He left, just like that. No hug, no goodbye, just gone. I sat in the coffee shop for an hour, staring at my phone, my social media accounts, the videos that had thousands of likes and comments. But what did it matter if I'd lost my husband, my daughter's stability, and my husband's best friend? That evening, I tried to talk to Graham. I found him in his office, surrounded by file boxes. I said I was willing to stop pranking him, that I'd toned down my content. Graham didn't even look up. He said, "It's too late for behavioral changes, Dina. Legal processes are already in motion to address 18 months of documented abuse." I asked if he was really filing for divorce. He said, "You'll receive formal legal notification very soon. Everything has been prepared. Everything has been filed. Everything is in motion." I saw the file boxes had labels: January-March 2023, April-June 2023, and so on. 18 months of my pranks, organized by quarter. There was a spreadsheet on his laptop. I could see the columns: prank title, date posted, platform, views, revenue, evidence of impact, witness statements. Every single prank I'd ever done, catalogued, quantified, documented. A cloud sync pop-up appeared. Files uploaded successfully. Social media evidence, 847 items. 847 items. 847 pieces of evidence. 847 times I'd hurt him for content. A calendar reminder popped up. Downtown 1445. I noticed he had a new messenger bag. Professional looking. Expensive. The kind lawyers use. I asked him what was happening Thursday. He said, "You'll find out Thursday." Then he asked me to leave his office. Wednesday morning, I woke up to find Graham already gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter. "Taking Sophie to school. Will not be home until evening." I went to work, but I couldn't concentrate. Damien had scheduled a meeting for Friday to discuss my future with the company. I knew what that meant. That afternoon, I parked in the garage under my office building. I saw Graham's car again. The back seat was completely empty now. All those boxes were gone. All that documentation had been moved somewhere official. His phone was visible through the window again. A text message preview. Everything filed. Service confirmed for tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. I took a photo of his car. I don't know why. Evidence of evidence, I guess. When I got home that evening, Graham was there with Sophie. They were making dinner together. Sophie was laughing at something Graham said. It was the first time I'd heard her laugh in weeks. Graham saw me and his expression went neutral. He told Sophie to go wash her hands. Then he said, "Tomorrow you need to be prepared for formal legal consequences. I've documented 18 months of emotional abuse. Every prank, every video, every dollar you earned from humiliating me, every impact on Sophie, every witness statement." I asked if he was threatening me. He said, "No, I'm informing you. This is what accountability looks like. You used our marriage as content. You exploited our family for profit. You caused genuine harm for views. And now there are legal consequences for that." I asked where Sophie would be during all this. He said, "With my mother, in a stable environment, away from whatever happens next." Then he took Sophie and left to drop her at Patricia's house. I was alone in the house. I went to his office. The door was unlocked, which was unusual. The room was almost empty. The file boxes were gone. The printed documents were gone. Even his usual desk supplies looked sparse. The only thing left was a single folder on his desk labeled Dina Copy. I opened it. Inside was a complete copy of everything he'd compiled. Every prank listed, every video archived, every witness statement included, and at the very bottom, a note in Graham's handwriting. 18 months, 89 pranks, 1.2 million views, $47,000 earned, 1 marriage destroyed, 1 daughter traumatized, 0 apologies given. Tomorrow, you face the consequences. I sat in his office reading through the file until 2 a.m. Every prank was listed with brutal precision. Fake pregnancy announcement, 238K views, $1,200 revenue. Patricia cried for hours thinking she was getting a grandchild. Fake affair confession, 512K views, $30,100 revenue. Graham's co-workers saw it, made comments at office fake divorce papers, 327K views, $2,400 revenue. Sophie asked teacher if her parents were splitting up. Told his boss he quit, 441K views, $20,800 revenue. Graham was called into HR, nearly lost his job. Fake engagement to best friend, 847K views, $5,200 revenue. Destroyed 15-year friendship. Traumatized 7-year-old daughter, on and on and on. 89 pranks total. 1.2 million combined views. $47,000 in total revenue from ads. And in every single video, if you looked at Graham in the background, if you really looked, you could see the face of a man being systematically humiliated. The smell of printer toner filled the house. But Graham wasn't printing anything. It was just the memory of all those late nights when he was documenting my abuse. I went to bed at 3 a.m., knowing that in 11 hours my life would change forever. Thursday, 2:15 p.m. I was at the courthouse plaza, waiting in line to renew my driver's license. It had expired last week, and I needed to take care of it before I forgot. The plaza was crowded, people coming and going from various offices, families, attorneys, court staff, regular people doing regular administrative tasks. I was filling out the renewal form when I noticed someone approaching me. A man in a grey suit. He was holding a manila envelope. He stopped directly in front of me and asked, "Are you Ondine Hartley?" I said yes. He said, "You've been served," and handed me the envelope. Then he walked away. Every person in line turned to look at me. Whispers started immediately. Someone pulled out their phone. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. The first document said, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." Below that, in smaller print, "Citing pattern of emotional abuse, public humiliation, and exploitation of family for commercial gain without consent." I flipped through the pages. There were so many pages. Detailed evidence section. Over a period of 18 months, respondent engaged in systematic emotional abuse of petitioner through social media pranks designed to humiliate, manipulate, and exploit for financial gain. Evidence includes 89 documented incidents with 847 archived social media posts reaching 1.2 million plus views and generating $47,000 in advertising revenue. Exhibit list, 89 items. I scrolled through, barely able to focus. Exhibit 189, complete archive of prank videos with original timestamps and platform data. Exhibit 90, 157, screenshots showing petitioner's face in background of videos displaying genuine distress. Exhibit 158, 203, comments from licensed mental health professionals identifying behavior as abuse. Exhibit 204, 237, witness statements from family members, Patricia Hartley, Leonard Vale, Margot Vale, Kieran Floyd. Exhibit 238, True 245, school reports regarding minor child's behavioral changes and anxiety. Exhibit 246, 251, testimony from Kieran Floyd regarding participation in pranks and realization of harm caused. Exhibit 252, 267, financial records showing respondent monetized petitioner's humiliation, $47,000 in total. Exhibit 268, 275, text messages showing respondent's awareness of petitioner's distress and deliberate dismissal. Exhibit 276, 280, social media posts where respondent mocked family members who expressed concern. Then came the professional assessment. Dr. Rebecca Walsh, licensed psychologist. After reviewing 89 videos over 18 months, I have identified a clear pattern of emotional abuse. Respondent's behavior demonstrates systematic public humiliation of spouse, escalating boundary violations, commercialization of partner's distress, complete absence of remorse or accountability, gaslighting when confronted, narcissistic disregard for impact on minor child. The documented pattern shows premeditation, escalation, and exploitation. This is not pranking or content creation. This is documented emotional abuse with the added dimension of financial profit from the abuse. The impact on the minor child is particularly concerning. A 7-year-old should not be exposed to her mother staging engagement to another man, faking affairs, or creating scenarios that suggest parental separation. This creates attachment anxiety and models toxic relationship dynamics. I kept reading, feeling sicker with each page. Financial analysis. Respondent earned approximately $47,000 in advertising revenue from content featuring petitioner without his knowledge or consent. Breakdown. Fake pregnancy pranks, $3,400. Fake affair, John relationship pranks, $8,900. Fake divorce, separation pranks, $6,200. Workplace-related pranks, $4,100. Fake engagement prank, $5,200. Miscellaneous humiliation content, $19,200. Total, $47,000 earned from spouse's emotional distress. This represents commercial exploitation of domestic abuse. Then came the section that destroyed me. Impact on minor child, Sophie Hartley, age 7. Teacher reports. Sophie has asked multiple times if parents are divorcing. Sophie told classmates, "Mommy is marrying Uncle Kieran." Sophie has developed separation anxiety. When leaving father, Sophie's artwork shows family scenes with mother absent. Sophie asked teacher, "Is it okay to lie if it's funny?" School counselor notes, Child displaying signs of emotional stress. Child confused about boundaries between truth and pranks. Child worried about family stability. Recommended family therapy and evaluation of home environment. Temporary orders. Effective immediately. Primary physical custody. Granted to petitioner, Graham Hartley. Respondent's parenting time, supervised only pending psychological evaluation, asset protection. Joint accounts, frozen pending division of proceeds from abuse content, restraining order. Respondent, prohibited from posting any content featuring petitioner or minor child without written consent. Possession order. Petitioner granted temporary possession of marital residence. Respondent must complete psychological evaluation before custody modification, considered both parties ordered to co-parenting counseling. Hearing scheduled March 15, 2024, for final determination. At the very bottom was Graham's personal statement. I forced myself to read it. For 18 months, my wife has used our marriage as content. She has filmed pranks involving fake pregnancies, fake affairs, fake divorces, and finally, a fake engagement to my best friend, all without my consent, all designed for shock value, all monetized for her profit. I didn't realize the full extent until I began documenting. 89 pranks over 18 months, 847 social media posts, 1.2 million views, $47,000 in revenue from my humiliation. Each prank was defended as just a joke. But abuse isn't funny, exploitation isn't content creation, and marriage isn't material for viral videos. I compiled every video. In 847 of them, if you look closely, you can see my face in the background, and in every single one, you can see the face of a man being systematically humiliated while his wife laughs and collects ad revenue. My 7-year-old daughter watched her mother accept a fake proposal from another man. She asked me if I was leaving. She developed anxiety. Her teacher reports concerning behavior. This isn't creativity. This is cruelty that's been filmed, posted, and monetized. I'm seeking divorce and primary custody because my daughter deserves a parent who doesn't exploit family for internet validation. She deserves to understand that love means respect, not content strategy. That trust matters more than views. That dignity isn't negotiable. Every prank is archived. Every view is documented. Every dollar earned from my pain is accounted for. Every impact on my daughter is recorded. My wife chose viral moments over her marriage. She chose engagement metrics over emotional well-being. She chose her social media career over her family. Now she lives with those choices. This is not revenge. This is accountability. I read it 3 times. Each time hurt more than the last. I looked up. Across the courthouse plaza, I saw them. Graham was sitting on a bench near the fountain. Next to him was a woman in a professional suit, his attorney. Patricia was on his other side, and Sophie was there too, holding her grandmother's hand, licking an ice cream cone. Graham met my eyes across the plaza. His expression was calm, resolved, finished. Then he turned away and said something to his attorney. Sophie laughed at something Patricia said. They looked like a family, a peaceful, stable family, without me. Someone in the license renewal line recognized me. A woman pulled out her phone and pointed it at me. I heard her whisper to her friend, "That's the prank lady, the one getting divorced." The courthouse security guard approached me. He asked gently if I needed assistance. I was just standing frozen in the middle of the plaza, holding divorce papers. I shook my head and walked to my car. My phone was ringing. It was Damien. I answered. He said, "Dina, a client just forwarded me your divorce filing. The custody petition specifically cites you using your family for commercial content without consent. 3 clients have terminated their contracts. They don't want to be associated with someone court documents identify as abusive." I tried to speak, but couldn't find words. Damien continued, "I'm sorry, but we have to let you go. Effective immediately. The firm represents family businesses. We can't employ someone who... The divorce filing proves it wasn't just content. It was abuse. You need to come in tomorrow to surrender your access card and equipment. He hung up. I drove to my office building anyway. Maybe I could talk to him in person. Explain that Graham was exaggerating, that the court was overreaching. But when I got there, security met me at the door. They had already been notified. I wasn't allowed in. I had to surrender my building access card right there in the lobby. My company laptop would be mailed to me. Former colleagues walked past. Some looked sympathetic, most looked away. I drove home in a daze. When I pulled into our driveway, there was a notice taped to the front door. Temporary court orders, effective immediately. Per family court order dated today, Graham James Hartley has been granted temporary sole possession of marital residence located at 847 Maple Street. Ondine Hartley is prohibited from entering the premises without supervision and prior arrangement. Visitation with minor child shall be supervised only as ordered by the court. My belongings were stacked on the driveway. Not everything, just clothes, toiletries, my laptop, my camera equipment, the tools of my trade, the things that made my content possible. Through the living room window, I could see them. Graham, Patricia, and Sophie were making dinner together. Sophie was setting the table. She looked calm, happy even. Graham said something and Sophie laughed, that genuine belly laugh she used to do before the pranks got bad. Patricia hugged Sophie and kissed the top of her head. They looked like a family unit, functioning, stable, healing, without me. My phone buzzed, a voicemail from an attorney named Jennifer Wu. I listened to it standing in the driveway, staring at the boxes of my belongings. Ms. Hartley, you need representation immediately. I've reviewed the divorce filing. This is one of the most comprehensive domestic abuse cases I've seen. Your husband documented 18 months of systematic emotional abuse, with your own social media content as the primary evidence. You filmed yourself abusing your husband. You posted it publicly, and you monetized it. The court has video evidence, financial records, witness statements, and professional assessments. The judge granted temporary primary custody based on clear pattern of behavior harmful to the child. I need to be frank, regaining primary custody will be extremely difficult. Your content demonstrates premeditation, escalation, lack of remorse, and commercial exploitation of your spouse's distress. The fact that you profited from his pain, $47,000 over 18 months, makes this particularly damaging. Additionally, the impact on your daughter is documented through school reports and professional assessment. A 7-year-old witnessed her mother stage an engagement to another man. That's not content creation. That's trauma. We need to meet immediately to discuss your very limited options. Call me back. I sat down on the porch steps, still holding the divorce petition. I opened the exhibit list again. All 280 exhibits, every prank I'd ever done, every video, every screenshot, every comment, every witness, every dollar earned. 18 months of my life, 89 pranks, 1.2 million views, $47,000 in revenue. And in every single video, there he was in the background, Graham, holding Sophie, making dinner, reading on the couch, living his life while I humiliated him for content. I opened my phone and looked at my social media accounts. The comments on the engagement video had changed tone. Someone had linked the divorce filing. Now people were looking at my content with new eyes. I just read the divorce filing. This isn't pranks. This is abuse. Her husband's face in the backgrounds. He's been suffering this whole time while we laughed. She made $47K humiliating her family. I hope he gets every penny. This is why prank culture is toxic. There's always a victim. As a family therapist, I've been commenting on her videos for months trying to warn people. I'm glad he finally got out. That poor little girl, watching her mum do this for views. The algorithm was working against me now. My most viral content was being recirculated, but this time with context. With the divorce filing attached, with Graham's statement included. People were going back through 18 months of my content, looking at Graham's face in every video, seeing the pattern I'd been too blind to see. The humiliation, the pain, the exhaustion, the defeat, it was all there, in every video, if you looked, and now everyone was looking. My follower count was dropping, thousands per hour, sponsors were pulling partnerships, brands were deleting collaborations. My career, built on 89 pranks, was collapsing in real time. I looked through the window one last time. Patricia was reading Sophie a bedtime story. Graham was cleaning up the kitchen. They moved around each other with easy familiarity. A team. Sophie looked peaceful. Really peaceful. The first time in months. I loaded my belongings into my car. Clothes, equipment, the remains of my content creation empire. I drove to a budget motel on the highway. The kind with weekly rates and no questions asked. In the small room, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened the divorce petition one more time. I read Graham's statement again. The part that hurt most. Every prank is archived, every view is documented, every dollar earned from my pain is accounted for. My wife chose viral moments over her marriage. Now she lives with those choices. He was right. I had chosen. Every single time, I had chosen. I chose views over his feelings. I chose likes over his dignity. I chose going viral over having a marriage. I chose content over family. And I had documented every choice, filmed it, posted it, monetized it. Graham didn't have to prove abuse. I had proven it myself, 89 times. With timestamps and view counts and ad revenue receipts. I had created the evidence that destroyed my own life. The man I called boring had simply valued respect. The man I accused of being no fun had simply refused to be humiliated for entertainment. The man I thought couldn't take a joke had taken detailed notes instead. For 18 months, every prank, every video, every view, every dollar, every impact, every witness, and built a case so comprehensive that a judge looked at it and said, "This is abuse. This child needs protection. These orders are granted." I opened my phone one last time. The engagement video, my most viral content ever, was still up. 847K views and counting. I watched it, really watched it this time. I saw Kieran get down on one knee. I saw myself scream, "Yes!" I saw the kiss. I saw my bridesmaids cheering. And then I saw Graham, in the background, holding Sophie. His face absolutely blank for just a moment before he forced a smile. But if you looked closely, really closely, you could see it. Pain, humiliation, betrayal, defeat. And in that moment, I finally understood what everyone else had seen all along. This wasn't a prank. It was cruelty. This wasn't content creation. It was abuse. This wasn't funny. It was heartbreaking. I closed the app, but the damage was permanent, archived, timestamped, monetized, and now, finally, accounted for. I lay back on the motel bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, my husband was tucking our daughter into bed in the house we bought together. The house I could no longer enter. He was reading her a story, kissing her goodnight, promising her stability and safety, and a home where love didn't come with a camera and a hashtag. And I was here, in a motel room, with boxes of camera equipment and a divorce petition that proved I'd destroyed my own family, for content, for views, for $47,000 and 1.2 million views, and 89 viral moments that would haunt me forever. The price of going viral, I'd learned, was everything that actually mattered, and I'd paid it willingly, one prank at a time. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.